Okay guys, today I'm going to do a really quick carburetor cleaning 101 for your project bike or whatever you may have purchased and you haven't heard it run yet, or your bike's been sitting a while and won't start. Now this is provided you have spark, fresh gas, and compression. So let's get into it. Okay, so this here is an older bike. It's a 1978 Kawasaki 650 KZ. So with these older bikes, these are the kind of carburetors you're going to get on. Just like that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is obviously shut your fuel off at the fuel petcock from the tank and unhook your fuel line. Drain that out accordingly. Then you're going to come after these guys right here. The intake manifold clamps that attach your carburetors to the engine. These little screws right here. There's one on each carburetor, and in this particular bike there's 4. So you have the outside one, and then back in here is the second one. Then you go to the other side of the bike, and it's the same thing. One outside, one inside. And you get these guys loosed where they're flopping around and all that. Now this bike, I put pod filters on there and I jetted it up quite a bit and all that, but we'll get into that at a different video. So anyway, same thing. You take the clamps off, pop them filters off, put them on the bench or wherever. And sometimes your bike will have a factory air box. Those are a little more fiddly. They have rubber boots that come out, you know, and go on the carburetor mouths instead of these filters. But just stick with it. You can get them out. Not a big deal. So when these are loose, you wiggle them, pop them down, lay them on the engine here. Then you'll see your, oh, this one you can't really see, but then you'll see your throttle cable. Real simple. Pop it out. On some bikes, there's what they call a push-pull or a open and close cable system, which means you'll have 2. One cable will open your throttle. The other cable is like a safety backup, so when you twist your throttle the other way, it'll close them. And that's not a big deal. Don't be intimidated. Just pop them off. You know, get them out of there. So you're going to throw them on the bench. And you're going to have to work with me, guys, because I don't have a camera person today. So then when you get them on the bench, they're going to look like this. These here are obviously not those, but these are an identical set that I'd use for this video. So this, guys, this is what works for me 80 to 90% of the time, just to get the bike fired up, to verify your engine's good and all this, because you really don't want to waste a lot of time, hours sometimes, cleaning these things and getting them perfect, just to find out you have a bad engine on your bike. So I come up with this over 20-30 years of working on bikes off and on, and it works for me. So the haters, take it easy on me. This is not a complete full-on rebuild and ultrasonic clean. I mean, I can do that in another video if you need to be. So anyway, whatever. So carrying on. Inside here you'll see these, the needle valves right here. These little brass things right there. There's one in each one. So where your cable went, your throttle cables, in this case it's right here, and if you move this up, it'll open up these slides. Boom, boom, just like that. And you'll see your needle in there, you'll see it. So these should all move up at the same time and all close at the same time. So if I can get like this. They should operate very smooth. They should not hang up, they should not stay up, they should not be hard to raise or lower. They should just real easy. And these are pretty good, which means we don't have to get into the taking the caps off and taking them out and all that. All right, give me just a second. Set this thing up. Like I said, you guys, this is just a video on how to get that project bike going, just to make sure your engine's good, you know, all that kind of stuff. So you take a little piece of 2x4 here, and it works for me. So I put them upside down, just like that. And if they're really fiddly carburetors and stuff, you can you know, put them in a vise or something gently and all that. So right here are your carburetor bowls. You got 4, 1 on each car. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything is exactly the same under this one as it is that one and so on. So I'm just going to show you guys one real quick. Alright, so normally there's a screw in each of these holes, but since I'm a little pressed for time today, I already kind of set these up. So you have, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you pop those guys out. I'll get this one here. Just toss it over there, no big deal. So when you remove the bowl, you want to inspect it. I'll get this a little better angle here. Let's pop it off, see what we got. It doesn't look too bad. The gasket stayed all intact, which is this piece here that goes all the way around. And sometimes these gaskets, you guys, will stick and they'll rip and tear, and in that case you cannot reuse them, obviously. This one you could possibly reuse just for this purpose, you know, what we're doing today, just to see if the bike's going to fire, make sure our engine's good. But I'd recommend just, you know, going online somewhere, order a, you know, rebuild kit. They're relatively cheap and they always come with the gaskets. And just have them guys on hand before you get into this. And anyway, so that's that. It looks pretty good. I'd give it a spray out, maybe a wipe real quick. And just to clear the overflow, you want to loosen this valve right here, back it out a couple of turns, and this is the overflow tube. You usually have a black hose that goes on this, and it'll run down along the back of your motor and underneath the bike to dump excess fuel. Anyways, so you loosen that little valve, give it a squirt in here, and it, you know, obviously is going to come out here. And that's about all you got to do to that. So pop that over there. Now, inside here, give me a second. Like I said, guys, I don't have a camera person today, so you have to work with me. All right. These are your jets. Boom. That's your air mixture. We're not going to touch that today. Float valves underneath here. So I'm going to show you how to do this. On some of these old bikes, these things are really delicate. So you don't want to crack this tower and the throttle body, you know, this one. You definitely don't want to bust these towers here trying to get your hinge pin out for your float. So just be careful. So, alright, here we go. So what I usually do, just pop it in there. Make sure your screwdriver fits in there pretty good. And just give it a quick snap. Bam, like that. And if the whole entire jet comes out instead of just the small one, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Take it out. We're not concerned with it right now. So take it out, pop it over there. And then your primary or your idle, just give it a quick snap. Bam, there you go. Pull him out. Like I said, you guys, some of these things are really delicate. As you can see, they're just made of brass. I mean, and age gets to them and stuff, and it's very easy to break them. So just be careful when you take them out. On your float here, there's a hinge pin. If you look to the side, I'll try to get it in there if you can see it. There he is, right there. So just get a pick or something small and just push it, just like that. And yes, they're supposed to be loose, so don't panic on that. Just pull it out, put him over there. Okay. Then your float's going to come out. Now, when you take this float out, you want to remember the orientation of it. So when you put it back, it's not wrong or upside down. So this stop pad or whatever you want to call it, your adjustment stop plate, is facing up, but it's on the left side. Then after you've verified that, you want to look at these floats. You want to look at these guys right here. Sometimes they're neoprene, sometimes they're brass, sometimes they're plastic. You just want to give them a once over, give them a little shake, make sure there's no fuel in them, because they'll get hairline cracks, you guys, and gas will get in there and it throws your whole thing off. So just make sure they're good, and they're very delicate, they're very light. Just be careful, handle them, and that's all good. So we'll set him over there. Now underneath there, you're going to see, I'm trying to get you guys a better view here, you're going to see that little guy right here. That is your fuel shutoff valve, float valve. And it should be, you should press down on it and it should spring back up on this little head here, kind of like a tire valve does. And that feels pretty good. You can use your finger. Yep, pops out. You want to make sure it doesn't stick or anything. So you pull that guy out. Give him a look. Alright, so this dude is made of brass, through and through. Sometimes you will find a rubber, neoprene, etc., etc. And if that's the case with yours, if your rubber or your neoprene is deformed or curved or something like that, or dry cracked, it needs replaced. These brass guys here, they're pretty indestructible. So you do not clean them with emery cloth or anything. Try to make them shiny, because it's going to gouge that, and then it's not going to seat properly and stop your fuel. So just give it a little shot of carb cleaner, you know, good rub with a rag, paper towel. Verify this is good once again. Yep, she feels pretty good. Alright, so let's go over there. Now, the next step, we're not messing with the air mixture screw today or nothing like that. Like I said, you guys, this is just a quick 20-minute job, and I'm as simple as I can on this, being as simple as I can to try to get you guys through this, so you don't have to sit there and keep staring at your bike. You know, what do? I don't know where to start, you know, or giving up on it. This is just to get you through, get the bike fired up, get you in the ballpark. It's a starting point. Alright, so next thing I like to do, so this is the bottom of your needle valve. When you twist the throttle on your bike, you're pulling this needle up. Remember, because they're upside down right now. This needle goes up, draws more fuel through, and away you go. Pretty easy. So you take, and you can hold your throttle open. You can do it actually, I don't know if you can see my hand, but right here you can do it. You know, you can open it a little bit, and once you open that, that needle will go up, or in this case down. You can give a little shot of carb cleaner in there. I'm going to use this little carb cleaner tube just for an example. You just stick it in there and just give it a couple sprays. You can hit, there's a little hole inside your seat here. You can give it a little shot too, and it'll go in, and you can see these chambers here. They're like round barrels. That's where your fuel comes from. That's your fuel supply, and it runs all the way up to your fuel line. So you can give him a little shot in there and clean that out too. Now you'll see, I don't know if you can see on this, but sometimes there's a teeny tiny jet way down in here in your primary, and I normally don't mess with those at this point, because I'm just trying to get it going, and sometimes you may or may not have to. Alright, so you want to stick your carb cleaner in there. Make sure you have eye protection, you guys, because this stuff is nasty stuff. I've been doing this for 20-30 years off and on, and you get carb cleaner in your eye, man, you are down for an hour. It sucks and it hurts. So you give it a squirt in here, and it's going to come flying out of one of these holes here. The general rule of thumb, say this one's on the left, that's on the left, that's where she's going to fly out of. See? So you be cautious and be careful of where you have these pointed, and if you want to spray in the reverse way like this, I do both ways. If you want to spray it in here, then guys, it's going to shoot out here and here, so it's going to hit your shirt or hit your stomach or whatever, and it burns on bare skin, I'm telling you. So just be cautious of where these guys and these guys are pointed when you're spraying in, and where it goes in, make sure it comes out, you know, the other end. That's going to get you clean enough, you know, and like I said, they're identical, you know, same in here, same in that one, that one, that one. They're all the same. So once you get to that point, you want to grab your jets, and in this case, let's see, I'm trying to get this camera to cooperate. All right. So this guy here, this is your atomize your fuel and all that stuff. You want to inspect this little O-ring. And remember, this is just to get the bike fired, and we want to hear the engine and make sure we got a good project to proceed with. This has got, I don't know if you can pick it up on the GoPro, but it's got a couple little dry cracks, and I'm not concerned with that one bit. But if it's broke or something like that, or worse, or crumbly, then yeah, slap an O-ring in there. And if you want to get really technical, you get an 8mm wrench, put it on here, and pop that little jet out. But it's, to me, that's just kind of silly, because it attaches, it goes straight through, it doesn't matter. So take your carb cleaner again, make sure you're safe, pointing in a safe direction. And they usually fit right in there like that. Bam. And I put my fingers over here, hold it, give the can a spray, and it's going to come flying out of these holes and the end. So mind where it's pointed. You know, give it a shot that way. You can give it a shot back in this way too. It's alright. So if that comes in, goes out, da-da-da, everything's fine, that's good to go. Put them back in there. Now these don't have to be Gorilla tight. Like I said, if you break this tower, you're done. You're buying another set of carburetors. I usually just use 3 fingers, my thumb and my first 2 fingers, and just kind of give them a little, just like that. That's it. They don't have to be Gorilla tight. Now on the next jet, it's a little bitty guy. I don't know if you can see through it or not on the camera, but it's pretty clean. But I want to give you a little tip here. So a lot of these smaller jets, it just amazes me how gasoline can get in there and harden up like a freaking rock inside this little bitty jet. So say that happens to you. You soaked them in carb stuff overnight, you're hitting them with the carb cleaner and you're blasting it, and it's just not coming clear. You know, you can't see through it, it's not coming out. You can use a piece of electrical wire, you know, heavier stuff, and take one single strand of that wire and start poking it in there. Boom, 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 boom. You know, and it'll eventually get through it. And it'll run through and run it back and forth a few times, blast it with carb cleaner. That's just a little tip of an old fart. So, alright, so let's say that guy's clean. You can go back in there. Screw him back in there. And most of your carburetors, you guys, on these multi-carb bikes, you know, 4 carburetors and stuff, and Makunis and things like this, in here, in the, you know, where all the action happens, is pretty much the same on all your metric bikes. You know, like over here we got, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a vacuum actuated, you know, carburetor off an old Honda. But under the bowl, you can see it's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is this black section here presses against the bottom of the bowl when you tighten the bowl in, and it holds the jets. They don't screw in. And these, like I said, these ones are made of brass. And that's about it. So it's pretty much a generalization across the board with all these bikes. So don't be intimidated, don't be scared. Just dig in and try it. Alright, so we got these guys back in. You want to grab your needle valve and just double check, make sure he's working. Yep, feels good to me. Drop him back in, point down. It doesn't matter which way. You can do it this way, that way, this way, it doesn't matter. Just put him in there. Boom. Now remember our float, we had that tab facing up and on the left. So that's how it's going to sit in there. And we're going to get the pin, and it just slides in easy, real easy. So don't panic. It's when the bowl is tightened on there, it keeps that pin from falling out. And you want everything nice and free. Feels pretty good. And in a later video, you guys, we'll get into how to set the float heights and all this stuff. But man, this is just to get you guys out there, get on that bike, you know, go through the carbs. I know they look intimidating and it freaks you out. Just, this is how you do it. Just don't read too much into it. This is just to get your bike fired up, man. So anyway, all that's back. Make sure, double check, tight. Yep, we didn't miss a screw. We didn't mess with that one. Floats in, valves in, everything's good. And at this point, you would have already cleaned this all out, you know, and sprayed through the overflow. You want to tighten him back up. Like I said, just 3-finger tight. That's all you got to do. So then we're going to pop him back on. Just like that. Then you put your screws back in at your 4 corners. And one hand tight, guys. You don't have to gorilla tighten. Just one hand tight, snug them down. And then you basically reverse everything we did when we pulled them off. You put them on the bike, you tighten your clamps, hook up your cables, your fuel, and turn your fuel on and see what happens. But at this point, your bike should, like I said, if you have fuel, you have fire or spark, you have compression, your bike should start. If it doesn't, you have another issue somewhere. But 8 out of 10 times, you guys, this works for me. And it's not meant to be technically correct. It's just a practical, quick clean, throw them on, and she'll run. So I hope that helped you. And like I said, don't hate on me too hard. This is not a thorough rebuild. This is just a practical world, get it going, let's see what we got kind of thing. So anyways, you guys have a good day. And don't be afraid of your projects, man. Don't be afraid to jump in. Just stick with it. Yes, it's going to piss you off. Just walk away from it for a while. Come back, but don't quit. You guys can do it. All right. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.